time since I've done a pen sketch drawing. And so I was thinking, well, let's do a pen sketch drawing of this little frightening, ugly monster Jack the Lawyer blowing off steam in the boiler room. Because I'm going to try to make it as close to the image out there as I can that I have posted on my profile. We'll see what happens here. Sometimes I hit them closer than what I want, or sometimes I hit them close, sometimes I'm a little bit off, but I still like how they turn out, no matter how close or how far away I get from the image. And okay, so I like to kind of start off with the eyes sometimes as sort of a center, place. Okay, and so we're gonna do, oh, maybe there's parts, yeah, there's probably parts of this part I should have drawn first before I made the rest of this, which I think I can still pull it off though. Yeah, I'm gonna have to. Let's make the eyelid a little bit, yeah, we're gonna be able to do this. We'll make the eyelid a little bit larger like this. Same thing with this one. Okay. So the thing is kind of to start off smaller and ding. Okay. Okay, so now for this particular nose, we kind of make it sort of round like this. So this is just how we make the nose. Kind of a fun little depiction here on how now we've got a little hook loop type thing right here. And then we can do another smaller hook loop right in here like that. So we've got an outer hook loop here like this. And then kind of a smaller hook loop like that to make this fun little nose like that. You see that right there? So that itself is kind of a fun little face right there by itself. And so now I'm going to be, okay, I've started up here on the hairline. So I'm just kind of scribble up a hairline here like this. I didn't leave myself as much room as what I would have liked to. So I'm going to have to work with what I got right there. So let's put on some eyebrows. The eyebrows are kind of hooked and looped around like that a little bit. And I kind of like to carry parts and features of the hooked and looped around. So that's kind of what we got for the eyebrows right there. So you can see where we're going with this image. And so I'll get the rest of it figured out. I had to leave enough room for the body. And so I've got this little mouth here. We're going to work on the mouth here. And so we've got, yeah, this is the fun part about this one. Okay, so we've got the little staples here, like right here, like this. Okay, where's our ears? Oh, our ears are... I almost feel like I didn't leave myself enough room for the ears. So we're going to have to make do with the room that I gave myself here. And get the, you know, I could actually, let's just draw, let's start off. Yeah, I did leave myself enough room. So let's start off with, let's make the tiny ear hole right here like this. And then we're going to go up and around like this, and then around like that. Now we've got the great big old gauged ear holes right here like this. And so what I'm going to do first, I want to depict steam puffing out of the ears. Now, how am I going to do that? So we're in the boiler room right now. Steam puffing out of the ears. Hopefully I get this depicted right. We've got smoke and steam puffing out of the ears here. Right here like that. Okay, so we have got, okay, we're going to do our little chinny chin chin right here. I'm going to have to eventually make the body here. We're going to run out of room, and it's going to be, I really want the body to be on here. Yeah, we're going to have to make do with what I got, with what room I gave myself. So it's going to be a short little body here. We're going to take it up like that, like this, and oh my gosh, I've got a comment. I don't know what to do with that. I got a comment. I got one comment. Okay, let me go see here. Let me go see here. Let me go over here to my channel and see what my comment said. I got one comment here. Hello. No? Kieran Wahab C7W says no. I'm not sure what that means, but no? No what? What are we knowing about? Okay, so let's go back here to this guy here. And, okay, so we've got steam puffing out of the ears here. And so I need to make another set of ears off. Well, okay, so let's we're going to round this part out there like that. We're going to kind of round this part out here like that. And we're going to make little steam puffs coming out of an ear here like this off this side. And we're going to kind of repeat and do the same thing. Okay, and okay, so I've got sort of a little ring here at the top. We got sort of a little man bun thing going on here. There's a bone up here holding his hair in place. Looks like a little dog bone of some sort, like this. And then there's the other part. Okay, so let's do this. It's going to be the hair part right there. So we're doing a little doodling here. The whole thing is a doodle. We're going to take this over here like this. And so we got the hair there, and now we've got another band right here holding the hair in place. And now we're going to do the man bun here like that. And okay, so we've got kind of a like that. And oh, that looks pretty darn good. So he's blowing steam out of his ears there. Okay, let me see here my comment that I got. Sarah Jess says hi. Hello, Sarah Jess. Okay, so let's continue. I didn't leave myself enough room for everything that I need to get in here that I'm feeling like I should have gotten in here. So I'm just going to have to make do with the small amount of room. So I'm going to make the ear off over here like this, and then come out and around and down like this. So we've got a gauge ear on this side, a gauged ear right there like that, and like that. And Okay, so steam coming out of the ears like that. Okay, should I ask a Q&A question? Let's see if I can try it. Start a Q&A. Let's see what it says. Favorite type of music. Alrighty, music again. Okay, so let's move this down here so we can watch. I don't think that stays, which is kind of nice. It doesn't stay over the whole live stream. And that part's nice, that it doesn't stay over the whole live stream. When it's done, it just kind of disappears. And I'm kind of glad of that. And so I'm going to take this part out like that, and we've got that one sort of like that. So let's make these a tiny bit thicker like this, tiny bit thicker like that. We're making our lines just a little bit thicker so you can see this. There's staples there. I could make these staples just a little bit longer. Okay, so we've got sort of a sideways staple right there, but I do need to work on the body. Okay, so let's get the body part. Well, let me do the belt. I'm going to do the belt around the middle like this. And then, okay, so let's do the belt. Uh-oh, I really don't think I have enough room for the feet. Let me just see if I can squeeze the feet in there somehow. I mean, this is going to be good though because it's an exaggerated sized head. And so I always think those are kind of fun to do, the exaggerated sized head. So I'm going to start with the feet right here and do kind of an angle like this. 2, 3. Let's do four toes. That's what it has in the image, is 4 toes. And then we'll put the foot up like that. So there's kind of a heel there. So I'm going to do 4 toes on this side. I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4. And then it goes. This is so sad here. Okay, so we're going to try to work in pants somehow. I think we're going to get them in here. We're going to get in these are some short legs and short pants, what we've got going on. And I think we're going to get it to work. We're going to make them kind of scruffy like this, and we're going to put, yeah, I think we're going to get it to work actually. They're a little bit shorter, but you know, dinosaurs, that's the joke on our YouTube videos, is a dinosaur struggling making a bed because its arms are too short. And so we've got another little weird looking creature here, struggling doing something. I'm not sure what his motive or purpose is, but he's struggling doing something, and he's got really short legs. And well, we got to get the arms in here too, like this. So I've completely deviated away from the original image. So we've got some little balled up fists right here. Okay, there's a thumb right here, fat little thumb, going up here like this. Some little fingers. We'll try to depict some little fingers there like that. And hope that it looks like an arm. So we'll do another one on this side, kind of similar. And a balled up fist like that, and then a thumb around like that. Thumb. Oh yeah, that looks pretty good actually. That looks pretty good. Let's get rid of this. I don't care about the music thing really. I'm tired of the music thing. I like music, but it's a network thing right now. And so, okay, so we've got the belt. Let's depict more of the belt like this. So we managed to get we did manage to get feet and legs and um, steam coming out of his ears. And okay, what else? Let's draw sort of a little ear canal. And we're just doodling. Right now we're doodling. We're putting little repetitive doodles in our image. So each time I do a repetitive doodle or wave like that, it's a little doodle is what we're doodling. And so, I'll just darken this up a little bit like that. And add a little bit more detail in here. Oh, I need to do his chin. Yeah, I need to do, okay, how am I going to do this? Okay, so I'll draw some, am I starting on the wrong side? No, this will work. Okay, let's do it kind of like this. So I'm going to draw some, kind of like this is what I'm going to draw. So I'm going to do it like that. So I'm kind of making a oval, a long oval shape like this. Start up here, down, and then up for the beard. Okay, so let's take a look at it right there like that. And so up here, down, up, and so over here is sort of, well, let's take it around like this, and then we're going to put a band. So I think there's sort of hairs like that. And we're going to do a band around like this, and then we're going to kind of make it look like the hair down here, which it is, the hair. So he's got a beard, kind of like that. That's his beard. I hope it looks like a beard. Okay. And so let's make some extra little features here. Like this, extra little features. And oh, so this part here is going to teach how to kind of make additional depth related to the wrinkles. You see how it just added some more depth here related to these wrinkles like that. And so I'm just darkening these lines up a little bit like this. Now remember, my channel is not monetized. I have absolutely no monetization. I'm not being paid in any way whatsoever. I'm just doing this for fun right now because I'm just doing it for fun because I have nothing else to do right now. And so I'm just kind of doing it for fun because I learned how to draw a few years ago. And so I thought, well, let's do something a little bit different. The drawing started popping up, and I think I'd said that I liked drawing, which I do. Clearly I do. I liked it a lot more. And, it doesn't take a whole lot of practice. I've only been doing this for what? Maybe, I would say maybe about 7 years. 7, 8 years on YouTube. I started doing some tiny drawings, and then I started doing some other drawings and things, and just kind of took off with it from there. I'm not earning any revenue at all, and I just like focusing. I'll tell you what I just like focusing on is making up my own names for things. I don't want to follow any names for celebrities or anything like that. I am anti-celebrity. I'm anti-establishment. And I don't mean against the government. I mean anti-establishment related to Wall Street. am against that establishment because it's causing personal injury, harm to the American public, to the United States public, not America. I'm not including America with this anymore. And so I'm working on saying it's causing harm to the United States public. And it is. And so, yeah, that looks pretty good right there. Like that. I know I've experienced my own harm in things. So, been bullied too in a lot of various ways because of all this going on. And I think the people who are doing it have figured out that they were doing it, and that now they've made it harder for people like myself who need help and can't get the help that we need. Now, I'm not a lawyer either. My lawyer should have known about this. My lawyer, my divorce lawyer, should have known about this. He should have been cognitive in a meaningful sort of way to know about these things, but he didn't. So okay, so let's see, I'm working on, oh, and another aha moment I came up with, which I'd already said. My second husband actually placed me into a monetization marriage, into a trust, very similar to what they do with placing a trust estate onto Wall Street, and turned our marriage into a business more than anything. And it's like, it's so ridiculous. I don't want to be in a marriage for a business. I want women and men to be able to be taken care of outside of the marriage, so they don't feel like they have to be in a business. So right now it's basically because men are incentivized to work. Men, they are twerk. That's where the word twerk comes from. Listen to it. Work and twerk. TWERK. So men are incentivized to work to be the breadwinners of the families. It's not the twerk, but men are incentivized to work. And so historically, then that means that when people get divorced, he does get mad at his wife, contrary to what we hear on the internet. She's mad at him, and it's about money more than anything. They probably would not be as mad at each other, and the relationships would be have more of a meaningful end. Some of them might even survive. If the money pressure could be taken off the couples, I think some of them could survive. The only reason they're both met with pressures to work, not to twerk, but to work. So that's where the word twerk comes from. And so there, I gave myself a word salad. And something else. I literally was censored off of a TikTok panel yesterday by a woman. She told me I was using word salads, and she didn't like that. And all I did was mention about what was going on with daytime TV and things like that. And because the other woman, she said something about Oprah Winfrey and the favorite things and things like that. So Oprah, if you guys remember, Oprah Winfrey changed, and she herself did not like the negativity on her show. So she said she didn't want all that negativity. I don't blame her though right now. I mean, I get that, but then I suspect she's doing the same thing as Martha Stewart though. Oprah Winfrey and Tyler Perry, same thing. A holdings company, they turn their celebrity into a holdings company. And so that's why I'm asking these questions, but Oprah said she didn't like the negativity because the traditional daytime TV, like Phil Donahue, Well, they started bringing on these people who they called skinheads, and they were challenging things like they do now. And nobody likes that at all. And then they want to profess that it's coming from outside of the United States, which it's not. Alex Jones raised that issue. That's why I asked the question, is Alex Jones going to get a pardon? Because it turns out the things he was talking about, it turns out that they are true. And they said with their staged events, they said they would go up to the border. So they'd find out when the media was going to, like Alex Jones, when he was going to be at the border, or someone else. They said, so with the politicians, nobody would go to the border at the time the politicians were there. So the politicians in turn were saying, oh, look, nobody's here. But then when the other ones were there, the other incentivized media was there, then they had a whole bunch of them crossing the border. And so it's come out, what they said was that that it's the same people crossing the border. So the example is, it would be like, you have money. Okay, let's use a corrupt lawyer, for example. Let's do this little loop here while I'm in the middle of here. Okay, so let's make a lawyer's office right there like that. We'll call it LAW, lawyer's office. Well, office. So here is the front door. Front door. Front door. Okay, over here, we'll do a little awning. The side door. Side door. Okay, so a person, okay, let's draw dollar signs. They have money. They go in the front door right here like that. So this is what we call the shell. I call it the shell company. Money goes in the front door. Let's call it 9,000. We'll do 9,999. So that's not supposed to tip the government off. So this person brings in $9,999 in there. They put it in here. So they run it through the log book, the transaction book. Yeah, we need to use transaction book too. Transactions. Okay, so they run it through the transaction book. So the money's here through the transactions. But let's call this corrupt. I can't even spell it. That's appropriate, me not spelling it right. Let's call it corrupt. L-A-W. Let's add a little thing in there to make it look like we tried to put a Y in there at least. We'll make it a tall. Corrupt lawyer's office. Oh, yeah, V. That works. L-A-W-Y-E-R. That works. Okay. So the money goes in here through the logbook, comes out the side door like this over here. So right away it goes out 9,999. He doesn't take anything for himself or anything. He just wants to run this money through. So all day long, so there's another person. We'll call this a different person right here. Different person takes the cash. They come out this door. So all day long, they're just running these two people through this corrupt lawyer's office. I can't even spell. Okay, T. I need a T in there. T. Oh, that's hilarious. TV. Why was it that my brain just missed the Y? Actually, it was a Y and a T. T-Y. Y-T. That's weird. Okay, so YT or TV. That is like a Freudian slip of my hand if I've ever seen anything. And you guys are sitting here watching me spell this out while my brain is eliminating what it wants to surface. Okay, but let's go back to this. So all day long, and these two guys can be, let's call them migrants. M-I-G-R-A-N-T-S. Now I'm using the word migrant. Migrants, they're just migrating through the front door, through the side door, through the front door, through the side door all day long. They can be gig economy, United States citizens. They can be kids. Let's say they're kids. They live in the United States. They're not necessarily from the migrant program, the H-2B. Let's just call them kids who are doing a summer work kids. Yes, summer work kids. Summer work kids. Internship. And so these are kids who are American citizens, just running this money through the front door, through the side door, through the front door, through the side door, through the front doors. And all of these transactions are being logged into this transactional book. So right here, now here comes charity donations. And let's put a Wall Street. And so they want to launder this money in. So this guy is the big truck, big slip and fall guy. You know, he's he does the big thing. So anyway, let's say they donate in $1 million, 1 million, right here into this guy's office, because it's just the same money that he's running through. He's running through the same $9,999 that he has. That's the only money that he has. He's running all this money through. But the charity, the Wall Street charity, they have money they want to pump into the economy without paying taxes. So they pump it in here, into this guy's office. They pump in $1 million into this guy's office. And so, but he's doing one of the private for-profit court systems is what he's doing. And so he does it's the TV stuff. So that's why this is Freudian slip is appropriate, the TV stuff. And so then he's got this money in here, this millions of dollars. So now he's got his clients. We don't know who they are. He's a private company. He can do it he can run it however he wants to, right? Trump runs it however he wants to. But so there's absolutely nothing telling him how he runs his office. He does it how he wants to. So he's got $1 million sitting in here. He's not even filing anything into the real court system. It's just sitting in his office. And that's what the lady at San Jose was talking about when she said that the real court system has raised the price, so these guys become their own courthouse. So they can't really file anything at all to the real courthouse. They're their own. This lawyer is the guy who is his own courthouse. But he's got clients over here who have won, let's say $500K from a big truck accident. So he awards this money to the client like this. Who do you think it's going to be? 500K right here. Himself into his private account. His own private banking account. Because, you know, we always heard that lawyers are rich and wealthy, have all this money. This is why. TV has taught us how they're doing it. How they're laundering money. I mean, this makes complete and utter sense to me. How the lawyers get rich and wealthy off of Wall Street, because it's a for-profit. We need to put that in there, a for-profit lawyer's office. For-profit law office. And he's laundering money. I mean, this makes complete sense to me. You know, you just run the same money through here all day long. You put it in the transaction logbook. You don't even have to do any court cases. Now, granted, if you do it in the smaller the better. This is what the guy on the cruise ship taught me. He said the smaller amounts of money, the better. He said the government's not looking at the small amounts of money, the chump change. So technically, this amount is going to be kind of high, even though they do it. You know, so they could say they have all these divorces that they don't have. The thing that doesn't make sense is most normal people can't afford any amount of this. Most couples who are normal American citizens cannot afford a divorce. So that's why he has to be a criminal attorney, maybe immigration attorney, a big slip and fall trucking attorney, something really big that awards huge sums of money so you can run it through fast. Now, I'm really surprised that they have not come up with a, what would I call it? A civil fraud housing attorney of some sort, a civil fraud real estate management attorney, civil fraud real estate management company holdings attorney. So, you don't want to put the word holdings in there though, because that's going to tip the public off. You don't want to put holdings in there, but technically he has become a legal holdings, a legal holdings, because he's self-enriching himself off the public. Self-enrichment as an attorney. So that's what he's doing. He's self-enriching himself off of people who are in dire straits. That's women, children, men, families who are in dire straits of help. And so this is what I call the weaponized court system. PONI, weaponized court against the American family because of Wall Street inflation. Now, I understand this. I had to take the time to understand this. Why can't Congress understand this and help? Why won't they understand it? Now, I'm not a lawyer, but I understand this. It is very complex, but hopefully I put it in simple terms within my drawing video here, that on my little napkin paper logic that people have told me over on TikTok that I'm just wearing an aluminum hat. The only thing I can think that they're telling me I'm wearing an aluminum hat is because they don't understand what's going on. They don't want to understand what's going on, or they do understand what's going on and they're benefiting from it. So there's several scenarios that it could be. They're living comfortable. They don't care about it. They're living comfortable. Did I mention anything about politics in here? No, I didn't. No, I did not mention politics once. Did I? The only thing I mentioned was about some politicians. I didn't mention any party names. I didn't mention any activism names. But I did mention about the weaponized court system related to inflation against the American family. This is just my opinion, and this is what's going on. This is where the court system becomes a holdings company. Legal holdings. But, I could create a whole nother scenario of this same scenario and present it in a way where you have a joint holdings legal with a foreign country, where there's legal professionals from foreign countries invited to come into the United States. Will apply the same scenario, and they're invited to be in this scenario right here, and they take the money and then move it outside to their country. Same scenario, and it works. It's going to work. The logic is going to work in the same way. So even though this looks like a big mess on here, which it is, this mess on my paper it's not nice and neat, but the United States people are hurt. Let me put this over here to the kids. The kids are being used for money laundering. They literally are. Through television, they're used for money laundering because they're an asset. We need to put that word on here too. They're a human asset, human, and with so everybody can be used as some sort of a human asset. All of our here on TikTok, on YouTube, they can say, well, we've got this many people working for YouTube. We've got all these 500. Google could say, well, we've got 500 million YouTube channels. They're all working. They're working. And now that it's owned by a couple of India guys, they take things out of nonsense level of things. And, oh yeah, we've got 500 million employees. Well, we're not employees. Even you could say we are. I mean, they can be laundering money in their own country as far as that goes. So, but let's set this aside and continue working on our guy here. So I mean, I knew I could explain this in such a way that it makes more sense to me, even though it doesn't make any more sense to anybody else. And see, anyone else who doesn't want it to make sense is benefiting from it. So if it purposely doesn't make sense to them, the more they tell you this, I'm going to be your coach of the more that they tell you that you're wearing an aluminum hat and that you're crazy, you're telling the truth about something. That's with anything. And that's what they're doing, is so they want to create, they want to diminish what you're saying is because they're benefiting in some way. And so they don't want what you're saying to go to authorities, because then they're the ones who are going to end up losing money in the end of something they call an investment. But it's like, well, the word investment is, I mean, you can invest in some toenail clippers. Well, what are they? Maybe $2 to $5. Well, what kind of investment is that? It's a depleting Oh, we didn't even put depleting assets on here. You know what else you know what else this lawyer has too? Let's say he owns the building. His building is a depleting asset, but because he's a lawyer and he has access to know how to twist and bend these rules, this man can write off his own building as a depleting asset, but still write it off and get money for using his own building. But we need to write depleting asset on here. Depleting asset. I mean, you could do this out of a trailer and not even, you could sit in your car and do this. You could sit in a cop car on a vacant lot and do this same scenario out in the middle of the street. You wouldn't even need a building. But you could go find a city-owned lot that the city owns. A cop could sit there and do exactly what I explained right here. And there's a price tag on every single person's head. So I use the family courts in this case because it's such a hot topic, because of kids and people getting divorced. Same thing with the prison system. Same thing with monetizing criminals, for petty offenses. When we're talking about people doing things, people just doing things that are petty offenses that really shouldn't go in front of a judge, but it makes people's lives harder. One of the biggest ones they've done is putting men in jail. I've never agreed with that. Putting men in jail for not paying child support. Now, the logic of that is, so you take the man, you put him in jail for not paying child support. He might have other kids and a wife. Now, what is his wife and kids supposed to do? You put the man in jail. He can't pay for his new family or his new wife and existing kids. He can't pay for the other kid. What logic is that? I mean, someone has the brain of a pissant when they come up with some of these things related to the United States public. They're greedy, old, dirty, old ass bastards. Greedy, old, dirty, old ass bastards. That's why this is so appropriate. Okay, so maybe I should make a female version blowing steam off in the boiler room. That's what I'm thinking. I need to make a woman too. Yeah, I really do. Because women need a place to blow off steam too, because, the TikTok scream, the TikTok steam scream is where we're at a lot of times. Related to, it's like, okay, we're struggling, we are suffering, we're trying to explain this, we're trying to get through to some people who are supposed to be leadership of the United States. We don't want to hear from the Americas no more. I don't want to hear from the Americas. I'm tired of hearing from them. I'm tired of hearing from Legacy Media TV. I'm tired of hearing from the BRICS countries, because that's Brazil, Russia, India, China, Africa, South America. And some of them are sanctioned countries. I'm tired of hearing from them. It's like, my own country, the United States, needs help. And you're literally harming the people who defend the freedoms of the United States. You're literally harming the families. So let's continue drawing our little creature here, who is a lawyer in the steamer blowing off steam because he's so angry. Because he can't find any logical common sense any place at all. And he's just completely lost his mind. He needs a moment alone to blow off some steam. And okay, well, we need to get at least 1 or 2 pipes out here. Let's see if we can't get a couple of pipes over here. No, blowing off steam could just be smoking too. I see what, I would think a bunch of lawyers would be smoking, actually. I loved the video this morning that came up of the pilot who was cursing. Oh my gosh, it was so funny. There's this pilot, and I don't know what happened. I couldn't hear the whole thing fully, but he was going down the runway. He had on a hot mic, and he was cursing about a passenger or something. He was irate. He was mad about something. And the thing is, I know that the pilots, they have to be nice, for the most part, because they do, every passenger is a client to the airlines. But at the same time, they don't have to put up with a bunch of nonsense. And, it's like, imagine if what we put up with on TikTok and the internet was on the airlines. And, sometimes the airlines have depicted that. A lot of the services that are government services, and the people are supposed to be professional and hold their tongue. It's like, I get it, because I felt that way even when I was younger. Working at a restaurant, it's like, I felt like I wanted to scream sometimes, because there's just a bunch of ungrateful people that you could just never please them at all. So I totally get it. I've always sort of gotten it, being a housewife, a mom, and knowing when we get divorced, there's no help. Church is not helping. Church does not help. It will never help. I am so tired of church. Stick a fork in me. I am done. I am tired of church. Okay, so should we do a little bit of steam coming out of here too? Do a little bit of, I don't know, water, steam, the steam. And I was thinking the Titanic, didn't it depict them in the steam room? Actually, in the Titanic, that's one of the things I remember. A lot of the migrants were in the steam room, and they shut the doors on the migrants in the steam room, and they all drowned. All the ones that were working on the Titanic, they just shut the doors, didn't even care if they got out. All of them drowned. So that shows how much they cared about the migrants there. And they didn't, you know what, the doors shutting did not look at a culture or who was down there. And if you remember, Jack and Rose were both caught behind the doors a lot of times, and Jack was on the bottom. He was at the bottom of the ship because he was in the he wasn't in the upper class. And actually, when you think about it, Rose was not either. But her mom, the only reason Rose was in the upper class, her mom was forcing her to get married to a man she really didn't like for the money, because Rose's mom lost all the money. What happened? What was it? Rose's mother's husband died and left them with nothing. She left them with no. He left them with no money. They had no money, so they were posing as affluent. They weren't really affluent. They were posing as affluent, and even Rose said in the Titanic that she was a hired actress. So if she was a hired actress on the Titanic, then she was telling a story. What was happening was not even real. It was just a story. So Rose and Jack were probably part of the story. It wasn't real. It never happened. The Titanic never happened. But I always liked the version, the most recent version I remember of Rose and Jack. That's my favorite version of the Titanic. They romanticized death is what they did. And by all means, Rose should have died too, actually. I find it hard to believe that she survived on that door and didn't freeze to death right along with him. I actually, you know what I was rooting for? I was rooting for them to die, both of them to die, holding hands, and they both fall in the water together. That's kind of what I was rooting for. And I hate to say it that way, but I thought, well, that would have sort of been a happy ending that neither one of them survived, because they're going off into something that wasn't good for them anyway. And she was being forced to be with a man that she didn't want to be with. And then when she got on that other ship, she had on her hood covered up. She didn't want to see the man. So she saw him, pretended she didn't know him, ignored him. And then when she came into the United States, she changed her name to Jack's name. That's what she did. But the whole thing is, you can change your name to any name you want it to be. That's one thing that the United States has been telling people. You can change your name to whatever you want it to be. If you don't like your birth name, you can legally change it to something else. I had a cousin do that. I think, I don't know if she legally changed her birth name, but I know she had one name. And even when we were kids, she did not, I don't know what it was. There was something about her birth name she did not like at all. And so she was always telling us to call her by another name. And when she grew up and when she turned 18, she changed her name, from my understanding, to a completely different name, her first name. And so she was married to a guy who wasn't very nice to her, but she kept his name, actually. The family was trying to say that he was on drugs and all this stuff. I don't believe it, really. I mean, he didn't look like he was on drugs to me. He just looked like a normal, scrubby looking guy, which most redneck hillbilly men like him. That's what we lived with. All of us had dads like that, and hillbilly mentality, hunting type dads who were the same way, so I mean, if you're going to lump people in a category of hillbilly, drug, scrub looking, they're all like that. It's not just any one of them, it's all of them. They all fit in that category at some time or another. You can't just look at a person and tell if they're on drugs or not just because they're in distress for some reason or another. And that's the thing I always said, back when all this crap was going on, started for me back in what did I call it? The cognitive dissonance. And, I still believe that America is deep in a cognitive dissonance of two things that make no sense, two things that don't belong together. Two things that are not meshing, aligning, they're not working, which we've identified as Wall Street. But the cognitive dissonance, as I've said, sometimes people get so frustrated. They do go into something that appears to be a mental collapse. And what happens is then you end up getting pushed into disassociation. That happens with abuse too. And it very well could happen with, I think I don't know, I'm wondering, under normal circumstances, if someone's not yelling at you and they're not physically abusing you, would you go into disassociation? But see, at the time in 2015, I remember it was January, what date was it? January 2015, when I felt like I was seeing yellow and I felt like I was in this really weird warm state. People want to call it menopause, but I called it something else. It was the weirdest thing. I just felt like I felt really, really good. But that was probably, I was 2015 losing revenue. He was yelling at me, time of BLM, Antifa. I was losing my revenue. And he was talking all this crap of, oh, I never have to buy anything again. It was pretty much, he's like, well, when I die, you get everything. And I asked him, well, you put my name on the property. Well, no, that's why we have the trust. That's why we have the trust. You get everything if I die. Then he started, well, maybe you'll die first. So he reversed it, and then he started in on me, even though the whole time in the marriage. But once the house got paid off, well, maybe you'll die first. Maybe you'll die first. You found a way to get out of your first marriage. You had to go get a job. Now you need to go get a job. I'm not happy. You got the police coming to the house because of your YouTube channel. I'm not happy. I can't live like this. Your YouTube channel is the problem. This is what I was hearing. Your YouTube channel is the problem. Well, you're doing something on YouTube that's bringing the police to the house, and it's making me feel uncomfortable. I can't live like this. You have to quit YouTube, and you have to abide by my rules. It's my house. It's my money. You have to abide by my rules. That's what I was hearing from him. And so then it just becomes an attack on what I'm doing from him. And then some random strangers are calling the police, doxing me for what I'm doing on the internet because I'm talking about what's going on. And which I think came out of Atlanta. I really think it came out of Atlanta and those idiots up there. But see, the problem is, living in that stream, and unfortunately I have to live in that stream between Comcast, Disney, all these people who are in that area, Florida, Disney World, all that bullshit. It's nasty. They are nasty as hell, nasty as all get out. I mean, I have absolutely nothing good to say about the way Disney does business, or Comcast. I mean, Comcast right now literally has their former employees sleeping in vans. These vans say Xfinity on them, so they don't even have a plan for those employees. So they're part of the van life. And, I've seen it. I've seen it over the past 4 years. I've seen these people living in Xfinity, Comcast vans. They have no plan for them either. These are American citizens, former military, who have been in the military. And so I have nothing nice to say about Comcast, and it's been inflating its price too. And they inflated their price higher. And so I don't know how these guys, maybe Comcast just divested and gave them a van and said, look, we're done with you. You're fired. You get a van. You can live in the van. You can live the van life. And so I don't know. I'm just speculating. I have no insight into it at all. But I know they're homeless. These are homeless guys. I've seen them too many times. There's several homeless females. Women are kind of more scared to talk about it. Women are scared to talk about it out of fear of being exploited. Because all that women hear from men is, well, have you thought about, now this is from the men who are working in the transient locations and the transient hotels. Have you thought about doing an OnlyFans? I just want to slap the motherfucking shit out of that 26-year-old who's a front desk clerk who suggests to me, and I said, would you ask your India mother to go do OnlyFans? He thinks about it. And it's like, no. Well, why in the world would you ask me or tell me to go do OnlyFans? Do you want to be looking up on OnlyFans and seeing your motherfucking mother from India doing pornography on the internet because you told her to do OnlyFans and pornography as a means to get by? So you motherfucking dumbass Sharia law piece of motherfucking shit, go back to your own raghead motherfucking Sharia law Muslim country and get the fuck out of mine. There, I feel better. Okay, I need to take this image and turn it into a woman. Yeah, it works as a woman too. Jack, yeah, it works as a woman. I feel a little bit better there. Saying that. Get the fuck out of my country, you dumbass pieces of shit. I don't want your Sharia law in my... And you know what? The military was always talking about Sharia law. And I understood it when they put them on legacy media and they were talking about 50,000 Christians over in the Middle East. And I thought, and they said they were holed up and caught up in caves. It's like, okay, that makes sense. It's like, is that the United States military, or they've got some civilians that are Christians? Like, who are they? You know, there's people who were caught up over in the Middle East, and that was on Facebook. They were talking about that for quite a while and saying that there was Christians over in the Middle East. Now, if you send United States soldiers and troops over to the Middle East, a lot of them might be Christians, possibly. Where this goes, I don't know. What I do know is a lot of people are literally trying to say, I don't want to believe in this bullshit anymore. I don't want to believe in Christianity. I don't want to be oppressed. I don't want to think of this ideology anymore. I know I don't. You know, I mean, we've had a forced way of life. Oh, either you believe this. Imagine putting on social media that you're a non-believer and that you don't get a job. Imagine that. You know, and that's one of the things that has been talked about with a lot of younger folks is it's like, well, they put stuff on social media and then someone they were friends with people at work. They were friends with they were friends with people at work. And then they vent on social media and they lose their job. Imagine that. If that happened, that would be terrible. You know, a person should have a place to vent. And I know myself, when people started doxing me, I wasn't working for anybody, and they started calling the police on me, then that kind of pushed me into hiding. And I was raising the issue for people who were at their work job for them because I thought, well, they're scared now. They're scared to post about things that might be bad taking place at work. Now they've got a bunch of shitty-ass customers going in, giving feedback and customer service, just being a jerk to them. And so, this kind of depicts a lot of people blowing steam out of their ears right now because they're pissed off at what's going on. Nobody's listening or helping. The boiler room, the steam room. That makes sense. The guy I was talking to from Washington State who said he was in the boiler room today. He didn't tell me exactly what boiler room he was in, but he was in a boiler room. And I started thinking about it and I thought, well, yeah, let's make the boiler room. The boiler room. Okay, so let's work on the chin hairs here a little bit more. So hopefully I taught something a little bit educational in here about money laundering and how Wall Street is utilizing things, and how a lawyer's office can be used as a shell company for money laundering. And you know, and then, but you know what? The ones from the left who come out of the migrant countries, they're like, well, if it's not hurting you, what is it that we can do about it? What is it we can do about it? So they're not even being transparent that they're from another country. And it's like, the thing I've said is, it's like, well, I don't want to have these conversations from people from other countries, because all they do is keep talking about United States policy. They can't even vote. They're not even in the United States, but they just keep talking about United States policy. That's all they do. And apparently, some of them from Homeland Security have said that's normal. That's what they do all the time anyway. And it's like, well, so then we end up with just people talking about policy from other countries on the internet, and then that takes over the trends. I don't really want to hear it all the time. Um, and not another thing too, then that probably means that the tabloid media is coming from foreign countries then. And so then the rest of us are just stuck. We can't get any help for anything that we need. We need help. That's why I guess we're on the Titanic. Is it the Titanic today? Because I'm beginning to think that we're back to the Titanic again. We must be. We'll just make some little steam off over here, just coming out of something like this. That's a really pretty doodle. You see that right there? So I'm just kind of going like this, and then like this, and like that. And that creates some really pretty steam images. So we might have a little, kind of a little leak right here, out of here, just a little hole right there like that. And we've got a big steam thing going on here. A big steamer. Oh, what was his name? Doc Compton had the guy something Steamer. What was his name? It wasn't Michael Steamer. He went by a something Steamer. I don't remember exactly. I haven't been watching Doc Compton though lately, because the less I watch him, the more that I don't watch him, the less scammers I get. So I don't get as many scammers when I don't watch Doc Compton, because he does the scammers, and so if I watch him and leave a comment, then I get scammers from him. And so then I stop watching him, then I don't get the scammers. So if I don't make scammer videos, if I don't inform the public about the scams that take place, then I don't get people who are trying to scam me. But then when they're trying to scam me, then I learn about the more of the scams that they're telling about. So, so sometimes I kind of take a little break from listening to it, and I might listen to someone else who's talking about scams in the same way, because I think it's important to talk about the scams. But when I talk about the scams, then I get people who want to scam me, and I get tired. They've sort of backed off me though, because the thing I've said is, well, you know what? Technically, I'm a senior citizen, and I'm going to pull out that angry, grumpy woman that has one chin hair, testosterone growing out of her chin and the side of her lip. The one testosterone hair, that grumpy old woman, she's a senior citizen, and now you're violating that old lady, grumpy senior citizen's rights. So there. So if you're going to be that way about it, according to the internet rules, TikTok is coming up with some more rules. The one rule I'm bringing up about is the holdings company today to YouTube. I made a post in their forum today under my 2024 account name, and I asked the question, can Google and YouTube utilize my channel as a holdings company for all of us and put us on Wall Street so we can all become holding companies and make our channels profitable. They're going to have to talk to their lawyers about this. I don't even know if they have lawyers anymore because it's ran by India right now. They have an India um, CEO for YouTube and Google. And Sundar Pichai is probably going to quit over this one should make him want to quit, I think. I think Sundar Pichai should want to resign over this. That's kind of what I'm thinking. And that's the object, is that he should want to resign because he's not going to make any money. I'm not making any money, so why would Sundar Pichai in India make any money when I'm not making any money? Why should they? Oh, I love this. Love this. This would be a cool tattoo. I'd want to make it up a little bit better than this to be a tattoo. I'd want to clean up these parts in here and up here a little bit better and kind of distinguish the steam a little bit further away, you know, with a little bit more room. But that would be a cool tattoo, actually. I'd have to put this on my arm if I was going to do a tattoo. I'd have to put it on my arm, like down here somewhere. Down here somewhere where everybody can see it, because I don't like wearing long sleeves. I was kind of like my mother-in-law, the only mother-in-law I've ever had. Rest her peace and soul. I loved the woman dearly, even though I wasn't fond of her son, the father of my kids. I loved her and her husband. And now I lost my train of thought. What I was going to say. Maybe that's what my brain wanted to say, was I liked them, I just didn't like her son. So, you know, see, that's how I work. You know, it's like there's people in families. I don't hold anything against the families. I loved my ex-husband, my first husband's family, because they let me stay with them and gave me a place when I was homeless. Otherwise, we wouldn't have had a place to stay. And he was a jerk, though. She always had something funny to say, though. Okay, how can I think that looks pretty good. Maybe I need to do a little bit more through here and do a couple of lines there. We'll do a little button right there. Let's take some of this, darken some of this up, and then I think we might call it a video. Pinterest gives me some really good ideas, and well, it's kind of busy. It's kind of a busy looking image, but I think we've got a lot going on in it too. It kind of depicts the sign of the times. It's perfect. He's got his mouth is stapled shut, his eyes are stapled shut. Oh, hello. Okay, see, I'm not seeing. Okay, Sarah Garosh Gregorian put up a whole bunch of emojis. Okay, I know it. See, I was looking at my screen, I didn't see the other person come in. So we've got the vomit. Okay, we got the poo emoji, the thumbs up, the censorship, and a pig. Okay, let me work this a little bit darker for the beard here. I know I said I was going to be done, but I just wanted to work it a little bit darker here, like this. And so we'll darken some of this up here too. I know I get sick and tired of hearing the foreign migrants, oh, we have to like everybody. We have to like. No, I don't. I don't like my ex-husbands. I don't like them physically abusing me. I don't like Sharia law. I don't like those teachings or those practices. You know what? If you want to like things and they want to migrate the Sharia law into the United States, then let them take classes with at least 1,000 different angry women who have been violently and physically abused. And they can take classes under the women related to, and they have to listen to what went on with speeches, you know, similar to YouTube, but everybody's in a church or something, talking to them, giving some motivational. So they have to listen to women. So that would be their punishment, is they have to listen to women. You know, they just have to listen, you know. So I know that Doc Compton has a different way. He shows them different things. But I think punishment for some of them, especially men who don't want to listen to women from foreign countries, just listening to women and they can't interrupt, that's going to make them so mad. That's going to make them really, really mad. Because they don't like women. They don't want to listen to women. So therefore, it's not a two-way conversation. They only have a one-way conversation. They can't interrupt. They have to listen to women. And then they wonder, why did I decide I wanted to come to this country after all? Why did I want to come to this country? And I think that will get their attention if they have to listen to women in that way. I think that's a solution for these young men from the foreign countries of Sharia law who want to treat women poorly. They want to pretend that they are Christians. They want to pretend that they like women. I think them just having to listen to women would drive them nuts. When they can't talk to women, they can't have a two-way conversation, they can't interrupt. Like right now on YouTube, they can't interrupt us. And that would be the same thing in a church setting or a forum or theater setting where they'd have to listen. Now, maybe they'd have the option of getting up and walking out, unless it was a course requirement that they had to take for graduation of their course that they decided to come to the United States to take for their college education. Now, if they're going to skip out and cut out on their college education, then they shouldn't. Then they'll fail their college education and they'll go back to their country in disgrace because they failed. See, I think of punishment in a different way. So I say punish men who don't like women in that they have to listen to women. And that's the punishment, that they have to listen to us just ramble and talk about things. And I think there's men in the United States who would understand this too. And so the men would, I don't know what they would talk about, but if they've had a family member who's been harmed or a child who's been harmed in some way, a mother, you know, a neighbor, a friend, you know, when they were at war or something, and there was someone from one of those Muslim foreign countries, they could talk about that to them, about how it was their land and their people that harmed um, United States citizens. Um, Now, a man talking to another man, though, that's a man talking to a man. But now, a man who has to listen to a woman from the United States, especially a man who's come from a country where men are in charge and they don't want to listen to women, they're the problem. And they should be forced to have to just listen to women talk about things that they really are not interested in. They don't want to, you know, because they have no respect for women. That's all we're saying, is they have no respect for women. That's all we are saying. That's what we see with the interruptions that take place on the internet. They just want to interrupt. That's why YouTube is the way it is right now, is so we don't have those interruptions. And you know what? I think TikTok is going to slowly, I think it slowly is going in that direction. It's not going to go overnight, but I think it's slowly going in that direction because the people don't like the panels of, you know, of just being interrupted for, and not being respectful or having a two-way conversation with people. Imagine if they did that to the court system. It would be kind of a mess. Imagine if they did that to a pilot, or someone just chimed in onto a airplane pilot's, one of those India guys, those scammers and hackers chimed into a airline pilot's takeoff flight pattern or something. That, I would think that would be an alarm of some sort for a failure at the runway when they're taking off, and then some guy from India chimes in. He's asking the pilot if he wants to buy into Medicare Advantage plan. That would be terrible. And, or the India guy hijacks the speaker on the airplane and is selling a Medicare Advantage plan. Oh my goodness sakes, that would be, oh goodness. So, yeah, there's always somebody somewhere who needs help with something, and I don't know where these people get this idea that the United States is affluent. I don't know where a lot of these people get the idea that there's this rural affluent mindset of, you know, the only thing I can think is it's from TV. Just because we have a phone and the internet does not mean we have money or are affluent. That's just not true. That's not true. I'm someone who wants to include my family. If my family can't be included, then it's like, it's not worth it, because I don't want to be, I see a flaw in the system. I see a problem with the system and I want to fix it. And I've seen what it is. It's ugly. It's very ugly. This guy or woman, might be a woman or a man, reflects the ugly. Okay, I think I'm done for right now. I know I said that about 20 minutes ago, but I think I'm done for right now. And Pinterest is going to keep giving me some great ideas for things to draw, and it does. I love Pinterest. Even though it could be used for something, I'm not sure. Pinterest and Reddit. Reddit seems pretty tame right about now, even though it's challenging to get into some of the forums. Even Reddit is kind of tame right now compared to TikTok. TikTok is way worse than Reddit right now. I love Pinterest. I always have loved Pinterest because it's art. It's still very popular. There might be some fraudulent things on Pinterest. I'm not sure. I go on it for the pictures, not for social media or engaging with other people, because I've kind of shut myself off and isolated from Well, their chat messaging doesn't seem to function like it used to function anyway. And so people are more interested in doing things themselves than they are communicating with other people right now because of everything going on. They're recognizing it. United States people are recognizing what's going on. So, and I'm fine with that. That's something we have to do, is to protect ourselves and our families from scammers that are from foreign nations. And so, thanks for watching, and we will see you the next time.